Welcome, Climate Viewers. This is Jim Lee from ClimateViewer News at ClimateViewer.com and ClimateViewer.substack.com, and ClimateViewer.org. We haven't done this in a while because, honestly, I haven't updated my map in a very long time. In fact, the last time I think I updated my ClimateViewer 3D map was in 2019. So, what do I keep hearing? I keep hearing things like there's 33 Haarps in the world. There's 144 Haarps in the world. We're going to set the record straight right now with the world's most accurate, the world's largest, hell, the world's only ionospheric heater, high power megawatt transmitter website on the entire internet, ClimateViewer 3D. We're going to go into what makes an ionospheric heater like Haarp. What's the difference? Why does it matter? And we're going to take a look at all the things. So if you guys are new here, please go over to connect.climateviewer.com. There is an article up on Patreon, on Substack right now, ISCAT 3D, Haarp, and the sky heaters worldwide. And it will literally list out everything that we're talking about here, show you the map that we're going to look at, links to it, and all of that. And I'd also be remiss if I didn't mention right off the get-go that if you are a paying subscriber to my Substack or my Patreon, this coming Saturday, we're going to be doing the supporters-only Zoom meeting, and the details of which are below. But you have to be a paying subscriber to do that. This is specifically to thank all of you that have been supporting me over the years, to take your questions directly, answer them, show you guys some sneak peeks of things that I'm working on in the background, and all of those things. So let's get into the map. Let's do the fun stuff right up front. All right, here we go. So this is the ClimateViewer 3D map. If you haven't ever been there, it's at climateviewer.org/3D. Now, I've had many versions of this map in the past. In fact, let me pull one out of the vault. So many of you may recognize this book by Alana Freeland, Under an Ionized Sky. What you may not know is that right in the middle of that same book is the ClimateViewer 3D map of ionospheric heaters, super darn, missile defense radars, laser beams, all that stuff. It is in the center of this book. Now, I've updated this map a lot since that day, and I keep refining it because though it may have taken a long time to create each of these maps, I'm always finding new information. And one of the newest bits of information is that ISCAT, or the European Incoherent Scatter Radar Network, has finally completed creating their ISCAT 3D. This is something that we talked about all the way back at the very beginning of my channel. When I was mapping out all these ionospheric heaters like Haarp, there was discussion that next to the Tromso ionospheric heater, they were going to be creating a much larger one. How much larger? They were shooting for 100 billion watts. That was the plan. Well, they fell quite short of that, but their new ISCAT 3D transmitter will be 5 million watts. And as a reminder, Haarp up in Gakona, Alaska is only 3.6 million watts. Tonight we're going to see a whole lot of radars that are much more powerful than Haarp. Let's go back to the map. So for starters, I've got, the link that, if you look at the link in the detail, it's going to have all of these layers turned on simultaneously. Okay. So I just click them on all real quick, you're going to get overwhelmed really quick. And there's just a little eyeball icon right here. You can click that on or off to turn these layers on. I just wanted to make sure that everybody had all of these together. And what do you see? You see a very populated map of all kinds of different radars all around the globe, and ELF, VLF transmitters, digisigns, super darn, all of that sort of thing. So what you can see is that clearly there's a lot of freaking radar beams shooting millions and billions of watts around the world. But most people tend to misclassify what these things are. An example would be the Exmouth transmitter. So this is actually an ELF VLF transmitter. It is not an ionospheric heater. If you actually look at it, it'll tell you that it is a 2 million watt, that's 2,000 kilowatts. It's operating at 19 kilohertz, not an ionospheric heater, just to be clear. And you can see the diagram of what that actually looks like. Usually with these ELF transmitters, you're going to see a tower, and then there's going to be wires run between the towers, and they use that to directly radiate extremely low frequency waves, very low frequency waves, and in only the case of a few transmitter, ultra low frequency waves. But, you know, here's a sign from the front of the building. So what you'll notice is that with each and every one of these, I've gone in, and if you click on the icon, it's almost like a mini web page to itself. Okay. So every single one of these takes some time, you know, to just dig through, look at the pictures, look at where it's at. This is not an ionospheric heater. It is something that directly transmits very low frequency waves. And it does that because it is, you know, transmitting to submarines. Let me be real with you. And I don't know what's up with the chat. It looks like the chat's almost dead, even though I know there's way more people than that in there. So I'm gonna figure that out. I'm gonna go inquire as to what the heck is going on with YouTube and the chat system today, because it's being kind of stupid.
Do not let them raise.
Well, yeah, the chat is lit up, and for some reason, my chat is not showing any of that. So, explain that. Okay, let me figure this out. Okay, I guess it's actually just running a little low. Go figure. Apparently, you know, me being 7 minutes late for my own broadcast is probably why the chat's so dead right now. I'll blame myself for that one. Yeah, it's working, guys. I saw a whole bunch of chats in there, and for some reason, it's only going to show everything from here on out. You know, that explains it. Okay, I messed up. Let's just put it that way. All right, so let's get back to this thing. I want to focus on these kind of one at a time, and we'll just do it this way. So you can get overwhelmed very quickly by looking at the scope of all of the different maps I made. An example, just the missile defense radars, all these black icons, just that map took 3 months to make. And it was not easy to find these, because for every single one of these, I have to go and literally find them. Most of the descriptions that you find in PDFs, they're very generic. They don't tell you very much. And they'll say, you know, this transmitter is 35 miles northwest of some city you never heard of, and then you have to go find it. So we're going to start right here with what is ISCAT 3D, and then we'll go to the ionospheric heaters, and then we'll break it down from there. So this is ISCAT 3D, and let's go over to the other side of the screen here so everybody can see. So right now, they're getting ready to turn it on, and they've built 3 of the 5 sites. So as you can see, stage 1, 3 sites. stage 2 transmitter upgrade to 10 million watts. The transmitter is right here. And I actually have all the information on that, how many antennas, over 10,000 dual pole antennas, frequency range 230 to 36 megahertz, 5 million watts, 5 megawatts, 10 million watts after upgrade. And if you click this link, it'll actually take you to where I got that information. And I, of course, I threw it up on the Wayback Machine because these things tend to disappear. So let's not let that happen. But here it is, ISCAT, technical specifications and requirements for antenna. And, you just do a simple, let's type in megahertz, and bam, there we are. The antenna element shell for the receivers will be this frequency, and for the transmitter will be this frequency, and on to how much power they will use and all of that. So I went and I have to source all this stuff. Big shout out to Ed Wells in the Telegram chat. If you guys haven't joined our Telegram chat by now, I just want to point out you're really missing out, because this is, I've got to say, by far the best chat I've ever thrown together. I had a Discord chat together a while ago, but of course, censorship be happening. We had 6,000 members in that chat, and it does not hold a pale to the chat we have now. So if you go to connect.climateviewer.com, I'm going to drop that link in the chat right now for everybody. You can go right here and sign up for the Substack, and you can see the Telegram chat right here. I'm going to go ahead and throw that in chat as well. And let me throw that over on Rumble as well. Please, if you're interested in this topic, jump over to the Telegram chat. We have phenomenal people in there. I mean, just some of the best. In fact, the queen of comedy herself, Stella Q, is in chat right now. Hi, Stella. Yeah, I'm calling you out. By the way, I need to make Stella an admin. Let's pause for one moment as I make Stella an admin. I'm gonna have to hunt her down really quickly. Let's mute the audio before a freaking ad or something pops up. And of course it did. Where you at, Stella? Right there. Add as moderator. Standard save. Now Stella's name is in blue. That way you can all point at her and laugh. And where did I see you at? And of course, Bettina's already blue. All right, so GFC Geoengineering Free Canada. Just wanted to make sure. All right, so back to the show. Back to the show. So hunting these things down. Thank you to Ed Wells in the Telegram chat. I was really overwhelmed, and I'm not good at delegating. But I reached out to Ed and I said, Ed, hey, look, I want to get this ISCAT 3D information up as soon as possible. They're about to turn the damn thing on. I've been waiting since 2010 to do this. And, I want to make a map as soon as possible. So why are you saying 2010, Jimbo? Because back then they actually had this plan, and I'll show you the image right here. Click in a new window. This was the original plan for where these were going to be. And this was pulled from a PDF, distances between proposed ISCAT 3D sites and the Tromsø site. The Tromsø site is an actual ionospheric heater. It is right here. So if you zoom in here, you will see this is like a Haarp. Okay? It actually has 3 different Haarps, or ionospheric heaters. And you can see that in the picture here. We'll go to that. And get everybody off the screen. Wrong button, Jimbo. It actually has 3 separate arrays that work on different frequencies. But this is the ionospheric heater in Norway. And it's right next to the ISCAT 3D system. So when they originally proposed this, they actually had a test site for it that's located. This is a riometer, or actually it's the Digisonde. But they had a test site, and I believe that's probably it right there. Let me see if I can get a better view on the here. Is this a sharper shot? Yeah, that's probably the test site because it's not on there. This says ISCAT ELF VLF antenna. Incorrect. Bing, you suck. But yeah, these are the actual antennas out here. But regardless, if we scroll out some more, let me zoom all the way out since it wants to be stupid on me. We can click here, and you can see that originally the ISCAT 3D was planned to be a power aperture product exceeding 100 gigawatts per meter squared. So we were talking about this for a very long time because that would be an insane amount of energy and would be what Bernard Eastlund said would be necessary to control the jet stream. 100 billion watts or gigawatts per meter squared. That didn't happen. Needless to say, that didn't happen. But what we did end up with is they have a transmitter here. Right now, it's currently operating at 5 million watts. We have pictures of those. That's in the cover photo right here. This is the transmitter for it, for the ISCAT 3D system. And right below it is a sea of antennas, which you can see here. This. That's what they look like. I mean, as far as the eye can see, that's a hell of a radar system, let's put it that way. So this is what's called an incoherent scatter radar. For those who've never heard of an incoherent scatter radar, or ISR, I put the link to ISCAT frequently asked questions pages, and you can look right here and it'll say, I believe it says something like, why do you need so much power? Why so much power? Why so much power? This is important because most people don't get this. The incoherent scatter radar technique bounces radio waves off of free electrons in the ionosphere. These electrons are extremely small, and as a result, high transmitter powers, large antennas, and sensitive receiver electronics are necessary to see any signal at all. Now, this is much different than bouncing radar waves off of rain or hail. You're literally bouncing radar waves off of electrons in a very not dense area, 300 kilometers in the sky. So most of the transmitted signal passes right through the atmosphere and ionosphere out into space, but a tiny bit that comes back tells us very much about the plasma. So this is what an ISR is. Now, you may be wondering, well, what does an ISR do? It is for diagnosing the ionosphere. The whole purpose of diagnosing the ionosphere is for the prediction of space weather and things like that. Still, 5 million watts, going to be upgraded to 10 million watts. And then the receiver locations are right down here, and they look pretty much the same. You can see, let me close some of these tabs. This is the receiver in, where are we at? I cannot pronounce this. I'm just going to be real with you. I cannot pronounce this. Kaisanimi, I believe. It's in Kiruna, Sweden. This one is in Karesuvanto, Finland. And this one is in Skaboten, Norway. I wish I could speak Viking. It would make it so much easier, probably. But also the Tromsø array is in Tromsø, Norway. So both of these are in Norway. They're pretty close together. This one over here is in Sweden. This one over here is in Finland. These are the two receiver sites. So literally 5 million watts coming out of this thing are going to go up and try to reflect off of the ionosphere and, you know, any of the free electrons, the magnetic field lines, things like that. And then they're going to be received by the other two locations. Make sense? Now, ISCAT has a whole series of these. And what I'm going to need to do real quick is go over here to the map list, and we're going to turn everything else off real quick so we can only focus on hopping around to the ISSRs and give you guys an idea of that. But before we do that, we're going to start with dim ionospheric heaters. Let me move the chat over here. So if you go to the map and you see this little tree icon right here, you can click on that, and that'll actually list all of the facilities that I have on the map currently, okay? And you can fly to those. So all I have to do is click on Haarp, and bam, we're at Haarp. Haarp is obviously the most famous of the group. This is actually not Haarp. Most people don't know this, but this set of antennas, there are 180 cross dipole antennas. It's about 30.6 acres in diameter, in area, and they're about 72 feet tall. 2.8 to 10 megahertz, 3.6 million watts with an effective radiated power of 5 billion watts, 5 gigawatts. Effective radiated power, for those who don't know, when you're talking about effective radiated power, it is power transmission into the antennas times decibel gain. So the efficiency of the antenna times the amount of power that went into it equals the effective radiated power. So because Haarp is very efficient and well designed, it has a very large effective radiated power. These are the kinds of things that, you know, only nerds really get into, but you have to understand watts in does not equal watts out for most facilities. In fact, if you were to look at the ultra low frequency Project Sanguine transmitters, they put about 3 million watts into that antenna, and only 1 watt comes out of it. But from that 1 watt signal, it could be heard worldwide. We will go into that in just a moment. So next up is obviously Tromso ionospheric heater. We kind of touched on that one already. 3 antenna arrays, one with 144 antennas, one with 36 antennas, and the other with 36 antennas. Total power 1.2 million watts, effective radiated power 100 or 1200 megawatts or 1.2 gigawatts. Still, that's a lot of power. 1.2 gigawatt ERP on this bad boy. Pretty shy of the 5 gigawatts that Haarp could put out. Still nothing to laugh at. I wouldn't want to be standing in the way of it when it was going off if I were you. And the other 2 smaller arrays are around 300 megawatts ERP. So that's the tail on this. Now the old one is over in Russia. This is called Sura. The Sura ionospheric heating facility, which is in Nizhny Novgorod Oblast, Russia. Links on that here. 144, again, cross dipole antennas. 750,000 watts with an effective radiated power of 190 million watts. That's with a 83 dB watt gain, decibel watt gain. And, I've got little pictures of all these down here. So you can click on those and then flip to them real quick. Where I've made like an infographic with different photos. These are what the antennas actually look like at Sura. And Sura is older than dirt. Like, it's the oldest of the 4 ionospheric heaters in this map. And of course, I made these images back when I was using Google Earth, and all of this has had changed since those days. Needless to say, Sura is in the middle of Russia, giving you a bird's eye view of where we're at. So this is Tromsø up here in Norway. Down here is Sura in Russia. Haarp is over here in Alaska. And last but not least is Arecibo. Now, Arecibo is kind of a conundrum right now because Arecibo was probably destroyed. And I haven't been able to get any updated information on whether or not it's actually alive at the moment. But in recent news, the gantry that was over top of the Arecibo dome, if you guys don't know about this and haven't ever seen it, there's basically a huge dome that hangs over top of it. I'll open link a new tab and show you guys what it looks like. But basically, it used to have this hanging over top of it. And the very famous, scene in 007 films where they're up there fighting on the gantry above it. And this is the reflector for the 305 meter dome that's down here. I see the flat earth fight going on in chat. I will ignore it. You will not drag me down today. But what they did was they actually built the new ionospheric heater in the base of the Arecibo Observatory. Now, if you look over here, you can see that much like Haarp, there is what's called cast grain antenna above it. And it shows right here a schematic sketch of the mesh subreflector suspended below the telescope structure. It'll be supported by cables from the towers right here. And this is what's called a cast grain antenna. The same is true if you go to, and I've got a close-up of this, you go to climateviewer.com/space weather modification. It's not just the antennas. There's also an entire series of pretty much tic-tac-toe shaped wires all between the transmitters at Haarp. That is what's called a cast grain antenna. It connects all of them together. So back to ISCAT 3D, as we can see in this latest updated image here, that son of a bitch fell down. And it's also known as the William E. Gordon telescope. And in recent, I probably should have looked this up before doing it right now, but let's see if we can find it real quick. Arecibo offline. Observatory collapses in Puerto Rico, December 9, 2020. So yeah, that's that's when it happened. And I don't know what the current state of the facility is, because if you actually go to the link for the Arecibo Observatory, you can see that it is now completely freaking trashed. Their website is trash now. It literally just has a picture of, the reflector that used to be hanging on top, and it's like, yeah, it's kind of broken right now, and it's being taken over by the NRAO. It's no longer going to be run by any, but the National Radio Astronomy Observatory plans to host the Arecibo Observatory Legacy website. A link will be added to this page at a later date. Here's the Legacy Arecibo content and their observations. But I could not find anything on, that's current on this facility. So we're going to say for the record that it looks like, even though it fell down, on the satellite photo here, we can still see the antennas. So I'm going to assume, and you know what happens when you assume. I'm going to assume that this one is still operational based on the fact that that is the ionospheric heater there, and there. And you can see those here in the photo that I put together. Those are the antennas, and somehow they're still there. Just for scale purposes, that's a dude in a blue suit with a yellow safety cap on. So very, very large. It's not dead, it's just resting. Chat, y'all funny. It's just taking a nap, Jim. Calm down. I mean, why so serious? Let me close out some of these tabs. I have way too many open now. All right, back to this thing. So to recap. Now, I guess I didn't give the stats on that one. The Arecibo, this is known as the Arecibo Observatory Enhanced High Frequency Ionospheric Heating Instrument. That's the official name for it. And it is on the island of Puerto Rico, at the Arecibo Observatory. 6 cross dipole antennas, 5 and 8 megahertz, 98 meter cast grain screen hexagonal subreflector. I showed you that. 305 meter dish primary reflector, with a big friggin' hole in it, I might add. But regardless, power 600,000 watts, effective radiated power 200 million watts. That's a hell of a step up right there. Pretty efficient, probably because it's sitting in a big damn dome. So it has a good way to focus its, beams. So what makes this different than all these others? If you look at the map list and you start looking at the other IS radars, incoherent scatter radars, what you're going to notice is most of these are like dishes, okay? So this is what it looks like over here on the side. That's an incoherent scatter radar. Let's go to another one. That's an incoherent scatter radar. I'm having a tough time actually showing you the satellite images of these and the pictures at the same time and making it large enough to where you can actually see them. This is the Coruna ISCAT right here. And yes, these are actual photos of all of these facilities. I nerd that hard for you. So if you appreciate me nerding so hard, please become a Patreon member. Give me a one-time donation on any of the below, or sign up as a paid subscriber on my Substack. I would greatly appreciate it, because all of this work you're seeing right now on the screen is free of charge, has been free of charge for 15 years, and it will always be free of charge, because this is about educating people on all of these types of facilities. This is the, don't y'all love hearing a guy from South Carolina try to read a bunch of foreign words? Sedanklia. I'm gonna call that. Hey, what do you think, chat? So dank, so danklia, Finland. That thing's so dank. Now onto a different type of ISR. These are known as advanced modular ISRs. AMISRs. This is the Resolute Bay North Face what's called Riser N. It's at Resolute Bay, Canada. 2 million watts, 449 megahertz. And it stands for Advanced Modular Incoherent Scatter Radar, as I said. And it's, basically looks like some bleachers you might see at a football game, except it's got all them tiny little antennas on it, like you saw on the ISCAT 3D thing. And then there's one at Poker Flat Research Range, which is used in conjunction with the Haarp facility. Don't believe me? Let's take a look out. Let's zoom out some. So Poker Flat is right here. Haarp is right here. One of the things that you're going to notice is that with all of the ionospheric heaters in the world, they also have a paired rocket range. The reason why, I guess I I could bring that up over here real quick. Let's go with 10 technologies. I should have this image in my... I should just go ahead and put this back in my thing. But anyway, here's the picture. Because whenever you have an ionospheric heater, you usually have sounding rockets. And sounding rockets shoot up in the air and they spray out different chemicals like trimethyl aluminum, strontium, barium, lithium, and there's one more slipping my mind right now. But basically, these are used because the particles in them are magnetic. They adhere to magnetic field lines. They make the invisible visible. So that's why sounding rockets are used. They're used to help diagnose, like they were talking about with the incoherent scatter radars. If they're just firing them at the ionosphere, then they're trying to reflect a signal off of a bunch of electrons. But if they dump a bunch of aluminum or barium up there, not only will... aluminum's not really magnetic. Let's be reflective. Let's be real, okay? That's the one thing most people never think of. But it does, the aluminum does travel in the upper winds. It helps them map upper winds. If you've ever looked at like any of those wind maps like Earth.Null if you're trying to figure out how do they know what the wind is like that high up in the atmosphere, it's because of radars like this. You know, and you can't bounce a radar signal off of wind. You have to have some kind of chemical in that wind in order for it to reflect off of. That's why I call these chemtrails from space. I think it's catchy. So without the chemtrails from space, a lot of this probably would not be possible. But if, and you know what, I can actually show you guys this in detail by just coming down here to the atmospheric sensors and EMF site, and I can actually go to the Haarp facility itself, where I've mapped out all of the stuff in Haarp, not just the IRI itself. So like, you know, you can see the power stations, the diesel power plants that run it, the command center. I call this Death Star 1. This is where they operate the Haarp Death Star so that they can cook, you know, the ionosphere and burn up their enemies with their directed energy weapons and geophysical warfare. Don't you know? But they have, you know, an observatory right up here with, you know, telescopes and lasers and all that fun stuff. But on this same map, if you come up here to the Poker Flat research range, or rocket range, I always say research, it's just a force of habit. They got their laser beam up here, and it's the Poker Flat LiDAR, which is this laser right here, and it's actually on a liquid metal reflector, which is just, I mean, it's just crazy cool if you actually ever get to see it. I'm surprised, why is the picture not in here? Because it should be in here. I could have swore it was in there. Now I'm confused. I so confused. But yeah, this is the Poker Flat research range, and you could find them on YouTube. They actually show off whenever they're shooting sounding rockets off. Something they're quite proud of. Imaging riometer. Over here is the PFISR, which we already talked about. So yeah, there's going to be one of these at each locations. With the Tromsø array, it's actually at Kiruna, Sweden. And I would have to turn on lasers to show you that. So I guess let me do that real quick. I should have included that one in there too. Whenever I shared the link out of all the maps, I probably should have turned the lasers on. Did I miss it? Laser. That. All right, now we got all the laser beams on, and I can come up here and show you where I'm talking about. So right out here is the Andoya rocket range, and this is where their laser beams are. This is the facility, the rocket range that works in conjunction with the Tromsø array, just to give you an idea. So each one of these you know, ionospheric heaters, they typically have some kind of rocket range, and you can see here pictures of them laser beams firing off from the Andoya or Alomar Observatory, Andoya Space Center. Let's get it right. That way everybody knows. But yeah, they've got a mobile and a Doppler LiDAR up there, tropospheric LiDAR 5 channels, a whole bunch. Them freaking laser beams, man. Now, I want to be real with you guys because, you know, like I like to shoot you straight and lasers don't bend. Most of these lasers are what are called the International Laser Ranging System. So they're ILRS, and these are specifically for tracking satellites in space. They're all over the damn globe. But a couple of these are specifically for directed energy. So this is actually at the Air Force Research Labs White Sands Missile Range in New Mexico, the Directed Energy Weapon Test Site, North Oscura Peak. And this is their laser beam right here. And specifically, this one, and I believe that's the GODSS, this one. So this is Salinas Peak, and this is North Oscura Peak. What they do is in this area right here, they fly. Did I turn the 3D off? Okay, now you can see the mountain. So you can see the mountains here. They fly drones and stuff out here in the valley, and they shoot the drones down with the laser beams up here on the peaks. So that's why they're located here. Just so we're clear. So yeah, this is White Sands Missile Range, and they shoot laser beams to shoot down UAVs at this location. Now the other would be Kirtland Air Force Base, which I never can find on a map. I don't know why. Every time I go looking, I get lost, but I'm thinking this is it. This is it. Yay, I got it right for a change. This is the Kirtland Air Force Base Starfire Optical Range. On it are a bunch of different lasers. There's your big fat green laser reflecting off the moon. Here's 3 lasers at the same time, all pointing at the same target, focused in. And this is a red sodium laser. Yeah, that one burns, brother. So are there directed energy weapons? You damn right there are. And if you look at the location of this, it's sitting right on top of a little, mountaintop. And this is in the middle of Kirtland Air Force Base. You couldn't get to this if you wanted to. You'd be shot before you ever made it over the hill. This is very much an Area 51 style military base. What's that next to it? Telescope and Atmospheric Compensation Laboratory. All right, we're getting off the subject. Let's get back to it. So, yes, there are laser beams on here. 4 ionospheric heaters. Just to recap, there are 4 ionospheric heaters in the world. Not 33, not 144. There are only 4 ionospheric heaters in the entire planet that are designated as ionospheric heaters. But that doesn't mean that powerful radars can't do other things. So let's take a look at some of those. One thing that's often overlooked is missile defense radars. Because when you look at the missile defense radars, what do we see? We see all the way across the southern United States. This is what's called the space fence, or nav spaceur. What you have is a bunch of transmitters that look like this, and they are 767,000 watt continuous wave. They're not pulsed wave. They're not pulsed signals. It's a coherent continuous wave transmission system. When you actually look at them, they don't look like anything else you've ever seen because it looks like freaking train tracks. So I had to highlight it in red. Otherwise, you'd come to this area and you go, what am I even looking at? Bro, this is what you're looking at. And you can see, if I take this down the scale, this is 50 meters. So let's zoom out a little bit more. Talking 300 meters, 500 meters, 1 kilometer. That sucker's about anywhere between 2 and 3 kilometers long. Kilometer, for those who don't like me saying kilometer. They're like, listen to the redneck say kilometer. That's funny. Think about this one though. If you're on this highway right here, that son of a bitch looks like it actually goes under the highway and then continues on this way. just the creepy thoughts. All those times you thought it was the 5G cooking your ass. Meanwhile, you're on this highway and you come over and you just drove over the space fence, dude. You just drove over the space fence. So as far as over the horizon radar, which is how a lot of these operate. This is Christmas Valley East up here. I'll come to it just to give you guys an idea how big these suckers are. So you got Christmas Valley East, and there's 3 different over the horizon or OTH-B radars that are, basically very tall antennas. They reflect off of the ionosphere and then back down, and then when the signal comes back, they're received. That's why they're called over the horizon. Newsflash. Why would you need an over the horizon radar if the Earth were flat? Let me know in the comment section. Because if the Earth is flat, there is no horizon. Do you see where I'm going with this? I'm just curious. Explain that one to me. Why would you need an over-the-horizon radar, something that can bounce off the ionosphere, then over the horizon, and then back? If Dom's in chat, Storm Fury 101. You still need to watch that doc on the Russian woodpecker, Jim. Bruh. Bro. I know. You're right. I have no time, people. I have no time. I can't even watch videos about shit. I said I wouldn't curse. I can't even watch videos about things that I'm interested in because I has no time. Well, that and I play too many video games while I'm at work. What can I say about that? So these are over the horizon radars. I don't really have details on how powerful that one is, but I'm going to tell you what, a bunch of these are really freaking powerful and will blow your mind. Now, I did mention that Haarp, the High Frequency Active Auroral Research Program, it's pretty strong at 3.6 million watts. Makes this, space fence thing here look kind of weak at 767,000 watts. But then there's big dogs like Eglin Air Force Base. Eglin Air Force Base, as far as I could tell, possibly has the most powerful radar on the freaking planet at 32 million watts. That is 10 times, almost 10 times. If it was 36 million watts, it'd be 10 times as powerful as Haarp. That's how big it is. Just to give you an example, like in the photo there. That's a big damn phased array radar. My God. Let's see if I can find a car for reference. It's so big. And of course the scan of this area has no vehicles even near it. Like everybody's like, I'm not getting near that damn thing. Are you freaking crazy, man? But yeah, this is Eglin Air Force Base's ANFPS 85 20th Space Control Squadron, part of the Space Force. And it's 32 million watts. So, chat, 32 million watt missile defense radar. Doesn't have the very long antennas, okay? Doesn't have 72 foot tall antennas, but has way more power than Haarp. is this an ionospheric heater? Can this modify the ionosphere? I have read a couple of papers on air glow associated with over-the-horizon radars. In fact, I'm going to be real with you. Chris Fallon, the director of Haarp, former director of Haarp, I got a $10 rumble. Frankly, wouldn't read my Davidson tiny penis rant. Hey, I'm not making it up. He said it. I didn't say it. Oh, I did just say it, but there's a dare, I guess, right? But yeah, there it is right there on chat. You got your say, bro. And if you don't know who Davidson is, I'm not going to explain it to you. Just so we're clear. Appreciate it, brother. But yeah, you're probably right. I mean, very sausages. Moving on. So I have read papers on this. In fact, let me see if I can find it real quick. I know everything's on ClimateViewer.com. It's like, what's heating the atmosphere? What heating the sky? Let me see if I can find this real quick. This might be tougher than I thought. Oh, I guess I can show you guys this real quick for those who want to see an actual sounding rocket. Chris Fallon. See, your penis rant just totally threw me off my game, dude. Oh yeah. So Chris Fallon, director of Haarp. I'm gonna just, take a moment, because for those who don't know, Chris Fallon was the director of Haarp. We butted heads for, about a year until we became friends. And I spoke with him on the phone several times. And then we eventually, became very good friends. We were working on a project together, which I'll get to in just a moment. But just for some context here, I was debating Paul Fox 13 on Twitter, aka Paul Delgado from Fox News. He's a meteorologist who was telling me chemtrails are not a thing, and I said, but what about chemtrails from space and sounding rockets? And he's like, I don't even know what you're talking about. That's nothing. That's not. But why are you calling them chemtrails? And then Chris, in his usual humor, Dr. Chris T. Fallon, said, with apologies to @PaulFox13, who's doing his best under the circumstances, here are some pictures of trimethyl aluminum trails from sounding rockets launched from the Poker Flat Research Range north of the University of Alaska Fairbanks. In other words, legitimate chemtrail science. So Chris, he didn't have a problem with the chemtrail word. And he's a doctor, and he was the director of Haarp. And yes, Paul got owned. I think Dom was around for this conversation, and it was pretty priceless. But one of the last things that Chris and I were working on was I was showing him this map, and we were going through multiple different things. And what he was actually looking into right before he died was specifically in Gorsky, Russia, that there were reports of a place that had way less power than should have been necessary to modify the ionosphere. And I actually think that it was the Voice of America in Russia that's near there, or it was a radio trans. It's known for the Luxembourg effect. If you guys have never heard of this, the Luxembourg effect. The Luxembourg Gorky effect. And this is In radio physics, named after the Radio Luxembourg, this is the transmitter that we're talking about, in the city of Gorky, Nizhny Novgorod, a phenomena of cross-modulation between two radio waves, which it shows here. Woo, 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 woo. That could just trip you out right there. Cross-modulation between two radio waves, one which is strong, passing through the same part of the medium, especially a conductive region of the atmosphere or plasma. So the Luxembourg effect is where, one radio signal can ride on another one. And what Chris and I were looking into was the fact that there were many different radars or just transmitters. I started this video by saying that VLF transmitter down in Harold Holt Station in Exmouth, Australia, is not an ionospheric heater. But does that mean that it cannot modify the ionosphere? No, it does not. And that's what we were looking at, together. And this was right before Christmas in December. And then I got an email 2 months later that he had passed away. But that was one of the things that we were looking into. And I can't remember the name of the article, but I actually have a direct reference on that. So for those who want to know, who actually want to see it, this is what barium, trimethyl aluminum, and strontium looks like. This purple cloud right here is a barium chemtrail sounding rocket. This is the strontium, and these gray lines are the trimethyl aluminum. So this is how they actually can see the wind and the direction that it's blowing up at altitude. And I have a video of it right here, which actually shows all of the above. This was filmed in Tromsø, Norway, by the way. So you can actually see the entire process. If you focus on this section right here, and it may be harder for you guys to see, but there's actually 4 no, that's crap on my monitor. But first it drops the barium, then the strontium, and then out comes another puff. There's another release. You see all 4 of these at the same time, and out comes that's the barium at the top, then the strontium release, and then lastly you're going to see, and it's dropping it at different intervals so that it can measure all of this at the same time. And I think they speed it up here at the end so you can see the whole process very rapidly. There's another one here. Okay, now in 5 times playback. So you can see the whole thing. Boom. Pew. Pew. Chemtrails from space. What about Jindalee? That's in there, bro. Check that one out. Nice big green one. Starts out green. That's your barium. Turns purple real quick under the atmospheric conditions. And then down here at the bottom, see the little sizzling gray? That's the trimethyl aluminum trails. So the aluminum's at the bottom of the list there. But you can check that out, and that is, like I said, from Andoya Space Center, working with, and this is filmed from Tromsø. And that's what it actually looked like when it was all said and done. These are the kinds of things that people don't know about ionospheric heaters in general. Now, I could go through all of these missile defense radars. I'm not going to, but I guess there's a couple that are worth pointing out. I want to show you guys one of the new, this is container, the new Russian ones. This is the Don 2N. This is like the big boy in Russia. It's literally, I mean, I don't know how to put it, but it looks like something that the freaking like Darth Vader's people, the Empire would be rolling with. And it's got a phased array antenna on all 4 sides of it so that it can do Look for ballistic missiles in all 360 degrees. But that's the Don 2N, and it's in Moscow. Pretty unique one. Moving back out real quick, I was going to try to find one of the Russian, the new ones. Let's see, this Duga, Don 2N, container. I know there's one over here. OS2. Damn it, Jim. You got too many radars. No, these are off with the receivers. There's also these speed that's swordfish. Those are Duga radars. I'd have to actually go through the list to be able to find it. Diego Garcia Globus, that's another one that's pretty important strategically. The Globus X-band radar. These are part of the new system, so we've gone to these X-bands because they can literally like track a baseball going into space from 3,000 miles away. They can track that baseball not just all the way into space, like 5,000 miles out. They can tell you the rotation of the baseball. It's that accurate. Very, very creepy and cool at the same time. Serious military flex right there. The sea-based X-band radar used to be here. It's not here now. As soon as I put it on the map, they were very quick to move that. The ANTPY2s, ANTPY2 as they call them in the military, these are also your X-band radars. Altair is another one of the most powerful radars on the planet. As you can see, Altair at 6 million watts. What the freak? My picture's not there. Explain that. Explain that. What is it? No. Open image and tab. What the hell? Oh, it was linked to Panoramio back when Google still had Google Earth. See, this is my kind of screw ups. This is one, just so you know, this missile defense radar thing is on my next list of to do, which needs to go. I need to go back through and do them. But like, where's Captain Tom in Guam? This is the Guam Tracking Center. Vandenberg Tracking Centers. Let me see. Navspasur, Clear Air Force Base up in in Alaska, Maine. I want to find one of these damn the new. You said something about Jindalee. These are the Jorn sites down in Australia. Jindalee Operational Radar Network. This is Jindalee receiver site. This is the transmit site in Queensland. Then you can see the receiver site here. And this is the one in Jindalee that you were talking about, Dom, earlier. And there's a bunch of these guys out there in Australia. And of course, all of these work together. Echoplex. What do you want to come on and talk about, bro? What do you want to come on and talk about? Hey, when are you having me or Ashley on? We have some fun questions. Honestly, like I've got Zoom and I could hook Zoom up to. I needed to use that video.ninja thing, but you know, of course that would take some effort for me to actually do it. But don't worry, I'll have you on. We'll have a nice little heated conversation on the internet soon. Calm down, Echoplex. Love you, mean it. But I'm looking for it. There's swordfish, there's green pie, there's ruby piece. Damn it, Jim. There's so many in here. It would be all the way down here at the end because it would be one of the most recent. Russian designs. And I'm not even seeing it still. Oh yeah, this place. This place is creepy. Ascension Island. This place is covered in so many weird things. You'd be really surprised. I mean, like, this is an island in the middle of nowhere that is really important to America. Donkey Plain on Ascension Island. And these are all the different types of radars they have up there. They're just freaking weird looking, man. I mean, some of them are just real old school and some of them are just new. This is the BBC Atlantic radar relay station. And as you can see, those are the antennas right there. But Ascension Island is like literally in the middle of the friggin' ocean. And this whole island, its whole purpose pretty much just signals intelligence. I mean, it's right there where that the Antarctic anomaly keeps appearing. But of course, nobody will talk about how that's interfering with, the radars that do the wave heights and everything. But yeah, that's that Antarctic anomaly that keeps appearing right here off the coast of Africa happens to be centered right on Ascension Island, where all of these freaking radars are. I mean, it's the whole purpose of this island is literally nothing but freaking radars, and part of the Comprehensive Test Ban Treaty Organization. But anyway, that's a whole nother show. Moving back out. All right. So apparently I fail at finding the freaking new Russian radars, man. Just failed hard. It should be like, it's not the Dugas. It would be right before that, I would imagine. It's Crimea. No, that's an older style. That's a Dnieper. OS2. That's a Dnieper also. Let's go over here. No, that's Pechora radar. Volga. Is this it? No, that's Volga's the older one. They have a new style radar, and it's not container, it's not Dnieper, it's not that. And I cannot think of it off the top of my head. But anyway, looks a lot like the freaking like the Russian Duga. So that brings us to the ELF VLF sites. Now there's a lot of really cool ones. This is the US Navy ELF transmitting site. It's a 76 hertz with 3 million watts. Now this is the one I was telling you about that literally is 3 million watts with a 1 watt signal. This is this big. Okay? That's Lake Superior. One is in Clam Lake, Wisconsin. The other's in Republic, Michigan. One is shaped like an F, and the other is shaped like an X. And if you look at the actual facility, the transmitter itself, it looks like power lines. So this is an extremely low frequency transmitter. Little bit of difference. Haarp up in Gacon, Alaska, uses a 2.8 to 10 megahertz signal to heat a portion of the sky to then create a virtual antenna in the sky that then creates extremely low frequency waves. What I am talking about now is the direct transmission of extremely low frequency waves. The reason that they created Haarp and were trying to create extremely low frequency waves using Haarp, using polar electrojet heating, is because the size of the antenna necessary to directly radiate ELF is enormous and very inefficient. So back to the picture here, what you can see is This thing is miles long and there's a guy right down there at the bottom. That's probably Billy Hayes. That's probably my boy, Billy Hayes. But anyway, these antennas, they ran through the woods, and I actually mapped them out. You can actually see the breaks in the trees where the wires actually run. And yes, I dorked out hard enough to actually follow these all the way down to where they go. Plus, I had a diagram to work off of, so it didn't make it that hard to, go ahead and know, hey, it's going to come down to here, and once you get to here, there's going to be a break in the trees, and you can see that it tees off here. But anyway, so these are what's called Project Sanguine. And Project Sanguine ELF transmitters were the cause of something called the Taos hum. The TAOS hum. The Taos hum was basically a localized effect where people were getting tinnitus and they were getting the effects of these extremely low frequency waves. They were having biological effects of them. People were complaining of nausea, headaches, hearing electricity inside their head. Activists were actually jumping the fences and cutting the power lines and the transmission lines. There was a lot of protests associated with these. Of course, you don't know anything about that today. That's not even talked about. So now the new system, because Haarp was very ineffective at talking to submarines, it was able to create extremely low and even ultra low frequency waves. However, it wasn't effective enough. So that's why you see things like Cutler, Maine. And at Cutler, Maine, 24 kilohertz at 1.8 million watts with this many freaking antennas. And as you can see, this is basically like Harold Holt just times 2. There's 2 Harold Holts side by side, and you can actually zoom in on the ground and see the antennas. You can see the reflection, the shadows of these antennas. This is a photo of how tall the antennas are. But this is just to give you an example of the difference between a direct transmission, low, ultra low, extremely low, or VLF site versus like an ionospheric heater or a phased array like the incoherent scatter radars. They're massive, and they take up a lot of space, to say the least. Another really cool one's up here in Jim Creek, Washington. It's actually in a valley, and if you look at it, and speaking of Billy Hayes, I've actually seen, Billy showed me a photo of him working on this particular facility. And of course, my freaking picture is not working. Like, what the happy hell is going on? This is from Wikimedia. This is why I started like saving everything to ClimateViewer.com. See, there's the picture. All right, well, we'll just look at that. So as you can see, this is what's supposed to be on the map. This is why I said I need to go through and update my maps, because a lot of the image links got broken. But the antennas actually are wires that run all the way across, back and forth, across an entire valley from hilltop to hilltop. Pretty crazy, right? That's one big antenna that's strewn all the way across this entire valley. As you can see, here are the antenna connectors on each side and up on the hilltops, and how they were run in between all the way down here. And that makes one large, massive transmitter. They used to have something called the Awesome VLF, which I'm sure this is gone too. But, broken links. If you find a broken link on here, you can always just go to, oh, look, it still works. SID monitoring stations for all of these. Awesome VLF networks. So these are all the VLF transmitters and their frequencies and all of that. Boy, there's too much in here to talk about. Yeah, I'm gonna have to go put that picture back in there. Put the thing back in there. So help me. Moving back along. So yes, there's a bunch of these things all over the planet. And then, this is the GWEN network, ground wave emergency network. This is purposes. Have a little discussion. So the purpose of these ELF, VLF, and ultra low frequency antennas are to signal the apocalypse. That is their job. When I said earlier that they had trouble talking to submarines, but Cutler, Maine does not. When I talked about the Project Sanguine 76 hertz transmitter, 3 million watts in, 1 watt out. What's important about that? The length of the wave and how powerful that wave is. Because the longer the wave, the deeper it can go into the ocean. It passes through bone and stone. So these extremely low frequency and very low frequency transmitters have a singular purpose to talk to submarines and tell them, pong, pong. When they hear that sound, that means come up to the surface and get instructions. These are not transmitting like, your freaking internet. They're not like Wi-Fi. They're not like sending a signal per se. The signal that they are sending is very specific, and it is, hey, you guys on the bottom of the ocean, come up to the surface. Why? Because when you get to the surface, you're going to point a laser beam at a satellite, and when you do, you're going to get an encrypted signal that's between you and that satellite that the enemies cannot listen to. And when you get that signal, if it says, go launch your nukes and do what's called first strike, all of the submarines are going to get this signal the same time. They're going to surface, they're going to point their lasers at the sky, and somebody's going to say, hey, Rocket Man it's his last day on Earth. Go light North Korea up. And they're going to put their little laser down. They're going to go back down under the water. And that's it. Lights out. So that's the purpose of this entire network of ELF and VLF transmitters, is to signal the apocalypse, to talk to submarines underground. Does that mean that it can't also hurt people? Because we all know that extremely powerful EMF transmitters have biological effects, affect not just humans, but all life on the planet. This was the purpose that I set out many years ago to do, and when I was still just known as Resonated, REZN8D. And this was on resonated.com. You can check the archive.org if you really want to be nosy and look at the original website. I think I kind of want to do that just for my own shits and giggles so you guys can laugh at my very poor coding when we started out. I'm going to pick on myself real quick. web.archive.org/ and we'll put resonated.com in there, and you can see the good old radiation database from back in the day. Damn. Ain't no way. Oh, wait. I didn't put the D in there, and it went all the way back to 1997. I was like, I had 2 years out of high school when that, was there. That's not possible. All right, here we go. Okay, that's a very early version of it. Let's not show that. That's embarrassing. That's the very early version of it. Angels angels do play with this HARP, the radiation database. Let's go back to here. I think this is the one I'm looking for. But that's what this was all about, was trying to figure out. This is my favorite version. Resonated.com. And you'll still see that on a lot of pictures that are on some of my, on ClimateViewer.com. You'll see like resonated.com or resonated.net. But basically, this was, how to use the radiation database on Google Earth. Holy shit, it brought up my original. Yeah, there's a video. Did that actually work? Archive.org doesn't actually bring up YouTube videos. Now I'm really confused. But yeah, that's still on my YouTube channel. If you go way back. Look, y'all got to hear this. This is old school Jim Lee right here.
What's up, beautiful people of the internet? Resonated here. Today we're going to cover the radiation database. I've got some new things for you I want to share. Completely redid my website. Pretty stoked about it. Liking the graphics. Hopefully I won't change it for a week. It's at resonated.com. REZN8D Robert Echo Zebra November 8 Delta.com. If you come over here, you can get the Google Earth version by downloading here, or you can come over here to something new that I had a preview of in the past video. Is now complete. I'm glad to share it with you.
What happened? What happened to the audio? Bro, my audio's gone. This is my damn YouTube video. This is a joke. Bro, YouTube like literally stole the audio out of my old video. That's freaking crazy. But as you can see, this is the original version of what you're seeing now, which is so complicated and has so many other things in it. But it had things like Big Brother and the Department of Homeland Security. This part right now, I'm showing the drones over America, Department of Homeland Security, and Echelon. This was before Snowden even existed. And interesting. I wonder if is there any audio on this video at all? That's the Earth scope. Like, there's so much I could do back then that you cannot do today. The internet was still fresh and so clean. Total electron content I just saw. This is where I could actually do space weather. You can actually see where the sun is currently burning the atmosphere, what the TEC is. U.S. drought monitor. Oh,
these mess up too.
And then the sound comes back. For a second. What the hell is going on? I'm so confused. I am so confused. But yeah, I had flight tracking on here as well. That's all the air stuff. Even back in the very first version, that's my space weather tracking app. Yeah, I was a naughty boy back then, and I really cleaned up my accents then. I think I've done very well, okay? I've been a good boy. And this was like a light version of the same thing that would show, all of the Doppler radars. Boy, we're really getting off track here. This is what happens every time I get on here. My autism gets in the way. But this was a really cool feature. You could actually click on the different versions of the Doppler radars, and say you could click this one, you could hit baseline reflectivity, and it would load it directly on the map. You wouldn't even have to go to College Duty page, and I could change it and show all the different types of radar stuff right there.
That's pretty much it, guys. I really hope you enjoy my new little toy.
And then there's audio again. Oh Lord. Trips down memory lane. I am a dork. I am so dorky. There's no doubt about that. Well, we're coming up on how long have we been at this? Hour and a half. Jesus, I always say that I'm going to make it a short video. It's impossible for me to make a short video. Wrapping up everything else real quick. Watch me work. So this is the yellow and black icons. These are the ground wave emergency network. This is if we get attacked by nuclear weapons that and all of the systems are down, that they can use ground waves or extremely low frequency waves to transmit data between the government and keep things operational. So, you know, of course they got one over here in Alexandria, you know, and most of them are over here, you know, near our nuclear missile sites, as you can see, but that is called the ground wave emergency network. That's in there. I miss the old days too, man. The internet was so much cooler than it is nowadays. It's just the bottom line. But as far as ELF, extremely low frequency, there is only 2 in the world, and that is the Project Sanguine, you know, the 2 I showed you right here, these 2 guys, and then the one over in Russia is called ZEVS. It is a 82 hertz transmitter in Tula Oblast, Russia. That's it. In the whole damn world, there are 2 ELF transmitters, and all the rest are VLF or greater, and then the ionospheric heaters, which can make that as well. Moving along. So then you have Super Darn. I'm going to have to turn some of these off, otherwise we won't be able to see a damn thing. Super Darn or Super Dual Auroral Radar Networks. These are all over the world. They look kind of like this one right here. If we go and let me just jump around real quick. So get out to see you jump around. All right, so Stare in Norway. Let's see. This is Tiger and Bruni. I always like to give my you know, my Aussie friends a shout out whenever I can. Yes, you guys have one down there right off the tip of Tasmania. And another one over here in New Zealand. These are the dual auroral radar network. Super darn. Super dang. Super bad. But usually you'll see them. There's one large row followed by a shorter row. And if I have a photo, I have a photo. If I don't, that's because it doesn't exist. But this is the Unwin Radar Tiger 3 system at La Trobe University in New Zealand. Anyway, so you guys have seen what that looks like. The Jicamarca one being the biggest one in the world. Jicamarca, Peru has a super darn that is darn huge. What in the absolute hell is going on there? That is not in the right place. What is... Oh, that's the receiver. Never mind. This is it. So yeah, this one actually looks like an ionospheric heater. I mean, it is huge. It is abso-freaking-lutely huge. But it doubles. It's an ISR. They also have a coherent radar there. It is 4.5 million watts. It is more powerful than Haarp. But, you know, again, all 4 of the ionospheric heaters that I mentioned, they are between 1 and 10 megahertz. That is almost a requirement for doing the kind of plasma modification that they like to do when they're playing with them. So that's kind of an important factor there. Moving back out, and so those are all the super darns. There's a whole bunch of them. There's a whole bunch of them on the South Pole too, for those who are curious about that. Why does it do that? It gets stuck. And why is there ocean over top of the... Let me go down here. Let's turn this back on flat terrain, because otherwise you're not gonna be able to see them. But yeah, there's these are the super darns that are on the South Pole, and as you can see, every country's got their own. That's Sene, This one is Sayoa. That's the Japanese encampment. Sayoa. This one is Zhongshan Station. That's China. Everybody's got a piece of Antarctica if you didn't know. And that is McMurdo Station. Based on the name, I'm going to say that's Australian. That sounds Australian to me. And of course, right here at the center, we've got the South Pole LiDAR. There's a whole bunch of other things there, like that ice. Anyway, we're not going to get into all that. This is Disciple Station, which was the original VLF transmitter. It is now under several hundred feet of snow and ice. It is buried. But that's the granddaddy of them all. The first long-term to this day and most referenced VLF injection site, and predecessor of, I call it Haarp's grandfather. Pretty cool. Digison Network, all these green icons on the screen. These are very similar to what radiosondes do. Radiosondes are for diagnosing the atmosphere, pretty much from the ground up into the stratosphere. Digisondes are for printing out what's called an ionosonde, which allows you to see what the current space weather is like. And they produce an ionosonde, which most people will never be a yes, Willie, because in fact, sun farts matter. And we need to know when the sun is farting and how it's affecting our atmosphere. That's what digisondes do. Thanks, Willie. So that's Digison. Obviously, we know what NexRads are. My NexRad map, it was directly linked to the radar animations at College of DuPage, but then they went and changed their whole scheme. It is, however, still linked to the NexRad level 3 data. So if you ever want to go to any one of these stations and get the not available to the public, usually data for NexRad level 3 or 2 data, you can do that from 1994 to present by putting it in here and, pulling up the product. And each one of these is directly linked to the station. And again, with all of these, I go down, I find the actual Doppler radar, I put the mark on the Doppler radar. That's how we do it. You know how we roll. So those are all of the NexRad stations. Not all. There's actually a couple that aren't on there now because, for every one of these maps, you'll see that there is there's a little marker that I put in it, which is like a license. And you'll see it's like right here. So that's a Haarp in the Sky Heaters. No, this one. All right, so this is the NexRad one, and it says last updated. It was created in February 2013 and last updated November 1st, 2018. So everything that's here is from 2018. So don't hold it against me, man. Like when you spend this much time finding all this shit and then you realize a couple of years later that you need to update it, it makes you want to pull your hair out. But yeah, that's all of those. And then there's also the Canadian ones, which are called SIGMET, which I included in there as well. And this one literally still says the radiation database in it. You can't make that up. So if I click that, that's going to at least now it's linked to climateviewer.org. So apparently I was smart enough to redirect it so people don't end up on Asian porn site or something. Who knows? I got rid of those URLs. I don't know them anymore. In yellow are terminal Doppler weather radar. These are always located at near airports, and the reason why is because they're actually pointed at the ground. So like Atlanta International Airport, this would be somewhere near the airport with the express part. Here's the airport right here. So the TDWR for Atlanta National Airport is right over here. and it actually measures like ground wind velocity and all that sort of stuff. So all these yellow ones that you see, those are terminal Doppler weather radar. Another type of Doppler nobody ever talks about because I guess it's just not as interesting, or didn't mean to do that. Back. Or that. Too far. And then finally in red are the Joint Surveillance System Air Service Route Radar. Did I say that right? ARSRS? Air Route Surveillance Radar. ARSR4s. These are for tracking planes and or tracking weather. And they have NORAD IDs. They are controlled by the military and the FAA. And riddle me this. If you've got this many damn Doppler radars and their purpose is tracking planes, how did any plane ever hit anything, or they lost track of a plane in America? You know what I'm talking about on 9/11/2001. Kinda unbelievable. And if I got into how many laser beams are around Washington, which, those, I don't think those are on the map, but let's just put it this way. There are freaking laser beams around Washington, D.C., and their job is specifically to shoot down anything that comes near, like Greenbelt right here. That's them shooting their laser beam at the moon. Yeah, that's just not a thing. I mean, we don't lose planes, flying into the Pentagon. We would not lose track of something like that, and we certainly wouldn't lose track of planes on the way to fly into the Twin Towers or any of that, because Joint Surveillance Systems, Air Route Surveillance Radar, you can see them all right here. And then I think that's it. I have a whole bunch more on here, but you know what? I'm not going to go into any more because this video is long and damn enough, and I'm getting hoarse. Plus I have to go to work tomorrow, and that just sucks. But needless to say, if you're triggered by all of what you just saw, there is a fun little button down here. I suggest you try clicking, and it's right here under options and instructions, and you can click flat earth. And what does it do? It'll take all of that and it'll just flatten that bitch right out. No, I did it. I cursed right at the end of the video. I cursed. Mark, shut up. Are those Jewish lasers? No. Well, I don't know. I didn't ask who actually owns these things. But yes, you can make a flat map out of this and view it like so, and see how everything connects together, and it just goes on and on. And look, this is how the flat earth works. You just keep going on, and it just never ends and connects back together again. Flat AF. So yes, I'm trying to be very inclusive. I want to, make sure that everybody feels comfortable while viewing their maps, whether it's the flat map behind me or the flat map on the screen here. Just go down here to the very bottom under options and instructions and click flat earth, or you can go back and hit globe earth. If you want to actually say you're right here and you're looking at the Eglin Air Force Base and you want to share that with somebody, and this is your current view, okay? Once you do that and you get to here, you can click share, and it'll bring up a link that has the exact location you're currently on. So I can do this. I can hit Control New. I can go paste, and then bam, when I click it, it's going to turn on all the maps that are currently on and fly me right back to that location. So as you can see, all the maps are over here that are shared. That's the purpose of the share button down here. And the only other thing would be, there's a whole lot of other stuff in ClimateViewer 3D. I'm still updating it. I did get through the alerts up to about the hurricanes, because, you know, they're expecting a very busy hurricane season. So I've got the tropical cyclone, observed center positions, cone of uncertainty, wind swath, cyclones trackings, and all that stuff. You can see real-time lightning, all of the stuff in the alerts and weather and the satellite section are live. These two both get pulled directly from their sources when you click them. So, you know, like you click on these earthquakes or anything like this, plate tectonics, you know, all that stuff. That's all live data there. Hurricanes, rain. If you want to actually see the rain from the NextRad data, you can come down here to, that's the precipitation and they're expecting, and here's with the rain on, and you can, let me close that, go to base map, make it black so you can see it real well, and then all of a sudden this is what you get. Now you can actually see the rain that's coming, being diagnosed by the Doppler radars. There's the Doppler radar station, and then you wonder why they have such a good clear view of it. Well, this JSS also contributes. Most people don't even know these exist, and you're not going to find them on College of DuPage. That's kind of important. But here's an example of an area where there's a Doppler, a terminal Doppler weather radar, NextRad, TDWR, and JSS all right next to each other. Interesting stuff. Stuff people don't normally think about. Damn, that's a whole bunch of TDWRs right next to each other. I wonder why. That'll be for you to figure out in another time. But I like to leave, you know. Oh, there is another type of Doppler radar I did not include. I guess I could show you guys that real quick on the way out. So the last type of Doppler radar, all of the maps that I just showed you are under atmospheric sensors and EMF sites. So these are Antarctic research bases for anybody that ever wants to actually look at all of the Antarctic research bases. You can see them here, and it tells you what they are, what those stations are, what the names of them, all that stuff. Bro, I swear, this is like a ADHD candy in the map section here. Moving down. There's the Integrated Ocean Observing System Doppler radars. Now, these are also known as surface wave radars, and these are Doppler radars that are pointed at the ocean. So you'll find them all on the coast. They're in blue. Another NextRad you never heard of, but it's called the IOOS, or Integrated Ocean Observing System. Look, the ice wall. There's no ice wall. I mean, unless you like make the map flat, and then maybe it looks kind of like an ice wall, I guess. I guess you could say that it could look a little bit like an ice wall. Because, you know, but it doesn't look very icy whenever I've got it on black. Let's just put it that way. Anyway, guys, there are only 4 ionospheric heaters in the world. There are many different transmitters in the world. Get to know them. Share the map. I would greatly appreciate it. If you want to learn more about ionospheric heaters, how they work and why they do what they do, you can come over here to the Substack article that I wrote. And in it, you will see that underneath the video you're watching right now is a link to the map that was in this video, and you know, the different types of things that are mapped out, a little nice screenshot of it. And if you want to learn more about space weather modification, how it works, a link to all my space weather modification posts, and a PowerPoint presentation on ionospheric heaters and how they work. And you can go through that, and I promise you, by the time you're done with this thing, you should have a pretty good grasp on all of this, because when you look at this, I break it down pretty simple terminology. What is an ionospheric heater and why does it do what it does? This, not an ionospheric heater. This is an ionospheric heater, and all of that stuff. That's the old map. And as you can see, I've updated it because the Super Darn Marca is not an ionospheric heater. Shouldn't be read. Resolute Bay ISR, it's an ISR. It's not an ionospheric heater. Neither is the MST, mesosphere, stratosphere, tropospheric radar in India, or the one in the UK, or the one in Japan. So I had to go and I had to redo this map. So you're going to see many different versions of old images of the map. That's why I'm making this video today, kind of to set the record straight. There are only 4, and I put it right here. I put top 4, but let's just change that to there are 4 ionospheric heaters. Go through the PowerPoint. You'll learn all about it. This is a grand overview of all the things, with a legend at the bottom. I'm going to update that as well, but lots of stuff in here for you to learn about how space weather control works, space weather modification, the Duga radar, all the controversy with that, satellite warfare, how that's going down, and why we made Space Force, why Trump said fire the Haarp. All of these things are in here. And the artificial air glow, which is actually kind of tiny. I saw everybody acting really stupid saying that all of the huge aurora we had the other March 11th or something like that, that was all because Haarp was on at the time, like the day before. No, this is an actual shot of Haarp making air glow, and it can only make a little disc, very small, not like that. But how Haarp works and all of that stuff. If you want to learn more about it, this is a great PowerPoint presentation that goes through the whole thing. And I did have my dearly departed friend, the director of Haarp, Chris Fallon. I sent him this PowerPoint before actually putting it on the internet, and the only thing he said that he disagreed with was the last couple of slides where I mentioned the fact that Haarp was on when the Fukushima Daiichi 9 magnitude earthquake occurred, and other than that, he said it was 100% accurate. So if you want to learn more about it, check the links. They're on the Substack, climateviewer.substack.com. Like I said earlier, I'm going to be doing for if you're a member of Patreon or you're a paying member of the Substack, I've already got it posted on Substack. There's a link to the Zoom meeting that I'm going to be having this Saturday at, I believe, 8 p.m. Links are in there. I hope to see you there. Bring your questions. I'm going to take all the time necessary to answer the questions, because I appreciate everybody who's supported me over the years, and I want to be able to, engage with you directly. Sans all the trolling in the chat. We'll just have a fun discussion. And hey, if you are a troll and you want to be a part of the discussion, all you got to do is, pay the $8 a month. You can come troll me in my own meeting. How good is that? But anyway, that was a lot to go through. I feel lifted. And guys, I've been literally offline for like 2 weeks because I've been so busy reworking through maps and recoding ClimateViewer 3D. It still needs a complete makeover, but I literally had portions of the website that were linking to stuff that does not exist anymore. So it's at least updated now, and it doesn't have all that crap on there anymore. So I've changed it up now, and at least when you come to climateviewer.org now, There isn't a bunch of links at the bottom of each page that go to nowhere. The Climate Viewer Reports website was still on the bottom. The categories were all jacked up. The subscribe thing wasn't even there that links to the Substack, the Telegram chat, YouTube, Rumble, BitChute, Odyssey, X, Facebook, Getter, Gab, the ways to donate. I'm going to update the merch shop, but I needed to update a whole lot of stuff on here, and that's what I did. And it's taken 2 weeks just to get this far with it. I've still got a long way to go. But hey, going to be a whole lot of work, and I'm going to stay at it. That being said, guys, thank you so much for hanging out with me on a Sunday night. ISCAT, what are you talking about? Finno-Scandinavian Arctic? Scandinavian Arctic? Raul Tesla, send me an email, jim@climateviewer.com. If it's not on there, let me know. Jim@climateviewer.com. Send me an email. If you're looking at one of the maps and there's a location that's not on there, let me know. I'm not on Foxhole yet. I literally talked to Frank earlier today. Frank's already given me the phone number for the dude that owns Foxhole. And I need to call him and set it up. So I'm trying to get all of these things together. I need more time. I need a second version. I need a second, like a clone of me and an extra 24 hours a day. And then I could get all this shit done. But yes, I'm going to be on Foxhole. Max Bliss, I've got an interview lined up with him. I may end up doing some StreamYard just to make it easy. But anyway, lots of things I plan on doing. I do need to make new merch. I want to bring back weathermodificationhistory.com as its own website. I should have never took it apart, but I wanted to make it easier to put it all together. Now that it's all together, it's just too much in one place. If you are a programmer and you know how to do website design, JavaScript, and you're good at it, please get in touch with me because I need help. I've been doing this for 15 years by myself. Every graphic, every line of text, and every video, all myself. So yeah, I would really appreciate it if I could find some programmers that I could count on to work on this stuff, because that would be freaking phenomenal. Anyway, please go to connect.climateviewer.com. It's your one-stop link shop for all the things Climate Viewer, all my, socials and everything like that. Please use the information, that's on Climate Viewer 3D for, be honest about it. Use it as a resource. Don't use it to create a bunch of fear porn. We got enough people scaring everybody on the planet. Be positive and remember to attack ideas, not people. Love you, mean it. If this video resonates with you, leave me a comment because I love hearing from y'all. First time here, be sure to subscribe and click the bell. Yeah! Remember, it would be impossible for me to do this without your support, so please join my Patreon or buy me a coffee on PayPal. And always, attack ideas, not people.
Kids are impressionable. That's why here at this station, we watch the programs and commercials your child watches carefully. He may see bad guys, but not in the role of heroes. And he'll learn that crime doesn't pay. Because your child's welfare is our concern, too. That's part of our code.
Better than anything you can get without a prescription. Anything. It's the best.